Hi, my name is Ben. I run a business in Scotland called Tayside in Pictures, and I'm going to show you my workflow that I currently use to create stacked low light panoramas like these ones using my DJI Mini 2. I use Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop for my processing. I know other programs do have stacking abilities, but I only know how to use Adobe programs, so you may need to improvise if you don't. Let's do it. Hi guys, so some fairly simple stuff here. I've got my drone up in the air. I'm at the piece of road that I want to shoot. Here I'm just framing my shot, making sure I only have to move up and down after centering my shot. I'm at ISO 200 and changed to 2 seconds so that I get some nice trails. I double check my framing. Now I'm shooting in timed shooting mode, which takes an image every 5 seconds. And what I want is between 15 or 20 images for each tile for the panorama. So now I'm moving the camera to the second composition for the second tile of the panorama and start shooting again. Once again, 15 to 20 frames for this tile. Now I move the camera up to the sky for the final frame of the panorama and start shooting again, 15 to 20 seconds. Once you've got all your images, it's time to get them into Lightroom for processing. Let's go. Okay, so we're in Lightroom. I have my 45 images that I've taken, 15 from each frame. So the bottom frame, the center frame, and also some of the sky frame. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make some adjustments to these in Lightroom and then get them over as stacks into Photoshop and get them over as layers into Photoshop and get them stacked in Photoshop to get rid of some noise and get some detail in these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this first image. I'm going to basically get some of the detail out in the shadows here. So I'll get that up to 75, get some of the exposure lifted a bit. Quite happy with the white balance, quite like the colour there. Clarity to about 30, that gets it going. Get the vibrance up a bit. I tend not to do too much more than that at the moment. I'm going to do some more changes when I get into Photoshop and I've got them stacked. I'll put a camera raw filter on, which will work on the actual stacked image to bring even more detail out. But I'm fairly happy with that as it stands. So I find the best thing to do is to do the adjustments on the first image, highlight all 45 of your images, which have all been taken at the same settings, and hit the sync button over here. It synchronizes all the settings that all the changes that you just made into all 45 of the images. Now, I find the best thing to do here is to highlight the first 15 images. Obviously, all got the same settings. You go right click, edit, and open as layers in Photoshop. Now you do that with them and the second lot and the third lot. So you've basically got 3 open stacks of 15 images in Photoshop here. So the first frame, second frame with 15 stacks, and the third frame with 15 stacks. Okay, so now we're in Photoshop. To get these stacked, you do the same thing each time. So you've got your layers here. You make sure they're all selected by hitting select all layers. Next thing is edit and auto align layers. So just using auto is pretty good. It's very quick. It's very effective. Sorry, it's not particularly quick. Not on a machine like mine anyway. While the screen's loading, I'm just gonna stop it and just skip further on so that you don't have to sit through all this loading screen. And I'll do that right through. See you in a minute. So this is the aligned images. You can see that because of the movement of the drone, some of the images have been moved about by Photoshop. The next step is to start stacking. So you have to convert this file to a smart object, which puts all of the files, merges all the files together into one single smart object. Once that's done, sorry, that was layer and then smart objects, and then to stack after they've been created is layer, smart objects, stack mode, median, which gets rid of a lot of these traffic trails, which we're going to bring through in a little while anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It only takes a second or two to stack, and that is basically the finished image without. I'm going to apply a small filter to it in a minute just to get the colors up and some detail out. I'm going to go ahead and do that for these two images. So stack both these two images using the same technique, and I will come back to you once I've done that, and we'll add a filter on. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so that's all three of them stacked, and that's us ready to just apply a small filter to them. See, what I do is I go into camera raw filters, a filter, and then camera raw filter, which brings up an interface which is very much like Lightroom's with the raw controls on the right hand side here, but there's lots more detail to play with here because it's been stacked. It's decreased the noise, and it's brought a lot of detail up. So basically I can lift the exposure a touch again. So if we go up to, let's say 40, let's get the shadows up, not too much, let's say about 35. I'm getting the highlights down, or a bit down, because we're going to bring the traffic trails through in a minute. Like I said, get the clarity up, which will bring the highlights up a bit as well. Let's say 35 there. Get the vibrance up, say 10. Saturation up a bit, 15 or so. A little bit of blue over on the sides here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the temperature just a touch, maybe by 8. Just reduces the blues a bit. Okay, so that is basically our finished base image. Like I said, we're going to get the traffic trails coming through in a minute. But otherwise, I'm fairly happy with that. Let's see if a dehaze will drop any details. Maybe a 10 for the dehaze. And that would do nicely. So hit OK there. That will load on. And that is basically a finished image. Okay. Right click over here and flatten the image. Go on to the second one. Basically, I'm just going to go back into camera raw filter, and I'm going to use the same settings for this frame and for the sky frame. To do that, you load it up, hit the 3 dots, and then apply previous settings. It just does it for you, no questions asked, just bangs them straight on and off you go. Hit OK, takes you back to the main screen. Flatten image, done. Final one, filter, camera raw filter, basically the same again. We're going to hit a previous conversion, so it's going to bring up lovely sky, make it nice and colourful. Hit OK. So these are your 3 base images. Okay, you could put these together now just to make a panorama and it would look great, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the traffic trails in, and we will do that by going back over to Lightroom and re-importing everything back in, but you'll see why in just a minute. Okay, so now to bring the traffic trails through, we've got these lovely 3 pictures here that we've created by stacking. Now to bring the traffic trails from these original images through, what we're going to do is we're going to import them again into Photoshop as layers, as we did before. So right click on the first 15, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Then that'll just start creating a new image in Photoshop there with 15 layers like it did in the first time. So we'll get the second lot, right click after highlighting them, edit in, opens and layers in Photoshop. Same again with the third 15, open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, so here's your 3 frames again imported as layers. you'll notice that the three that you've done already have moved to the right hand side here and are now called Untitled 1, 2, and 3, as they've been overwritten with the names of these. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to blend them all together, the 15 frames, because we purely want the traffic trail. Now, easy, super easy. Here we go. So we've got the first frame. Select all layers. Edit. Auto align layers as before. Auto again. Hit OK. Fantastic. That's the first one aligned, and second one is to do the same. Okay, just like we did the first time with these three up here. We're going to highlight them all, align them, and I'll show you about blending in just a minute. So let's get this one and this one aligned, and I will be back with you. Okay, so we now have all three of these new frames brought in and aligned together. Now, what we want to do is we want to use all these frames blended together to create traffic trails. So what to do is to, on this first image, keep them all selected. Okay, all these frames are selected here, and you will go to this where it says normal. This is your blending mode, so we'll click normal here. We will move up to lighten, which will automatically bring all the light through to the top frame. Hit OK there. Okay, that leaves all your frames there, and right click and then flatten image. Now what I like to do here is I like to go into image and adjustments, go into levels here, and then just bring it down maybe to 0.85, because we just want the colors. Maybe 0.9. We'll go 0.9. 0.91. Okay, just darkens it slightly so that it's more in keeping with the colors of the original picture, which is over here, entitled 1. Okay, so we literally just want, that's our picture that we've stacked. This is our image with the traffic trails. Okay, we will do that on these other two images as well. So we'll go normal, lighten, and image. Oh, we'll flatten that. Sorry, flatten those. We'll go image, adjustments, levels. Bring that down to 0.91 again. Hit OK. Again, very image stacked. Image for traffic. So at this third image here with the sky, we will change the blending mode again to lighten. You can see the traffic here wandering off into the distance. Okay, very similar. Flatten this image. Adjustments, levels, 0.91. Right, perfect. What we've got here then is 6 different images. Now, in order to be able to switch them between each other, we need to go to the original image that we stacked, and we will select all. So let's select the whole image, and we'll edit, copy. We'll go to the image that's got the trails, and we will edit, paste. So it puts it on top. Okay. Now, where we've changed it, flattened it to a background image over here on the right hand side. This bottom layer is your trails layer. What you need to do is you need to double click that so that it becomes an actual layer. Now that's fine, it can stay at the bottom. What we're going to do here is we'll make sure this top layer is highlighted. We'll come over here on the left to our eraser tool. Okay, now make sure it's on brush, opacity 100, flow 100. Now I generally go with about 175. We'll just go 180, that's fairly close. Now literally you're going to paint over the road, and it will bring through the traffic trails from the picture below. Okay, so if I just unlock that layer, you can see that is the original image, and I'm just going to paint all of these roads in here all these traffic trails in, literally just holding my finger down on the mouse, just painting it in as if you were highlighting something. Okay, simple as that. That is literally all it takes. Okay, if you click on the eye over here, it will make the top layer invisible, so you'll only see the bottom layer, and you will be able to see anything you've missed out. So go right on there. Okay, so there's a couple of little bits and pieces, but I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so you've now got the traffic trails showing through on an image that has got lovely detail from where you've stacked it. That is done. Okay, right click on the top layer, flatten image, that one's done. Okay, if you hit Control and S, that will save that image, and then once it's saved, if you hit Control and W, it will close that image. Okay, and that image will now be, you can delete the first frame you did because you don't need that anymore. Now when you go Control and W, it will close it and it will send it back to Lightroom, where it will now be sitting in Lightroom as a TIFF file. Okay, so edit-5 TIFF. So if I go back to Photoshop here and I do the same thing, okay, I will take the stacked image, select all, edit, copy, back to the first, edit, paste. Okay, got my eraser, let's make that a layer. Got my eraser tool, make sure layer 1 is selected, and let's just paint that in again. Okay, all the way down from the top to the bottom. Every single bit of road you can see, just go over it with your eraser tool. Okay, so you can make sure you get all those traffic trails in. Lovely. Right, that is all the main road. Now what I find is that when you're shooting from up high, you obviously see lots of the towns and cities around you. Now if you drop that top layer off by hitting that eye, you will see that there is traffic in between the buildings over here. Okay, so if you just figure out where they are or look at where they are, it may just take you a couple of times. So you've got this road here, it's got traffic in it. More here that I've missed. Okay, there's traffic in this car park over here, which looks quite cool. Didn't even see that the first time. So we'll paint that all back in as well. I think that's just about it. Missed a wee bit here as well. That is the second image done. So come over to here, right click on there, flatten image, Control S to save, saving up here, 99%, done. Control W to close that, and you can get rid of that as well. Okay, final image, edit, select all, edit, copy, let's go to this, edit, paste that on, make this a layer, make the top layer selected. Okay, quite a lot of traffic in this one, so just paint it in there. A little bit over here we've missed. There's a couple of bits and pieces in the background, different little bits of traffic that you don't even notice at first. One down the side road here, and I think that is just about it as well. I'm going to do one different thing with this image. So what I'll do is I will flatten that. So that is that finally finished. Now just here there is Venus that has been rising or setting, I forget at that time of year. So when you stack, it obviously loses its sharpness. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of it. So I'm just going to highlight Venus there, right click, fill, content aware fill, hit OK, and that's it, gone. Finally, that is that image done. Control S to save, saving up here. Once that's done, Control W to close it and send it back to Photoshop. We'll close that final one, we'll pop back over to Photoshop. And what I like to do here is in the library, go to text, type in the word TIFF, and it will just show you your 3 images that you've just done. So that one is the base, the bottom image. Your next one is the center image, and then the next one is the top image. 3 different frames for your panorama. This top one here has got a bit of a blue, a bit of an orange cast, so I'm just going to drop the white balance down maybe 25 or so. I just noticed it's very, very orange. More in keeping now with the others. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so that's those 3 done now. Now, literally, if you haven't used the photo merge option in Photoshop, very, very simple. You highlight the pictures for your panorama. Either right click or go to photo. Let's right click because that's how I do it. Photo merge is here. Okay, in the middle you've got HDR, panorama or HDR panorama. HDR merges your 3 bracketed images. If you don't know how to do that, it's the only way I shoot during the day using my drone. And HDR panorama is an amazing tool that will stitch and merge your images, but because we've made our own images here, we just close the panorama. It will bring up the panorama previews. Now, sometimes it stitches perfectly, sometimes it's a little bit dodgy. I do like the spherical, but what I've started using more recently is a perspective. It seems to stitch everything absolutely spot on. You've got funny edges and stuff from where it's stitched, but that's what I like. I like that. Okay, so perspective, make sure no boundary edge or filling edges is selected, and come down to merge and hit that. Give it a second. It will create. Fairly rapid. What it will do is it will take you back to your main library, where this will be showing in your library. Okay, so there is your final stitched image. You obviously want to crop that, so let's get that sky down a touch. The edges are the best way to do it. Do the edges first, so you get that in close to the edge as you can. Same on this side, close to the edge as you can. I tend to lift the bottom. You know, the sky's nice, but there's nothing much above there, so that'd be about as much sky as I want. Hit done, and that is my finished. Going 200%, do I? 100, 200. So that is my finished image. So this here is our final finished image. Okay, traffic coming into Dundee, all the way along the Kingsway, right down through. All recorded beautifully. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like. Give me a subscribe if you like. And I will look to do some more videos in the future. Thank you.